Welcome to the Agent 251 podcast, the real estate show that looks deep into the work and culture at JWRE, Jason Will Real Estate, in Mobile and Baldwin counties. Jason, Agent 251, investigates and spills the beans on his case closing clues and industry secrets for motivating agents while educating buyers and sellers.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Will with the Agent 251 show. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Diana Will.
Hello.
All right, so I know you guys, if you're listening, I know you have to be blind not to see all the 333 cash. Did I get that right, Jared? So it's the big jacked up truck driving around town, 333 cash. The property investor guy, he'll buy houses and close on them in 24 to 48 hours?
Absolutely, we sure can.
So he's here in the house today. We've been wanting to do a show on property investing, and what better guest to have than Jared Irby. He is the owner, chief investor at Irby LLC, and the jacked up truck guy.
Well, thanks for having me out, Jason.
You are a property investor, and that is probably one of the hottest segments of our business. Everybody wants to be a professional, successful property investor. So we got the expert in to talk to him about it.
Sure. We'll see what I can share with you today for sure.
Well, I think that's an important thing. Let's really get an honest assessment of what it takes, because it sure as heck ain't easy, right? Or everybody be doing it.
Yeah, no doubt. It's probably kind of what you preach to your real estate agents. It's a business, and it's really not like a TV show where you kind of paint something up and resell it and make a ton of money. It's actually to the point where you got to put in the work and put in the business. It's definitely, that's exactly what it is. There's
seminars and all these investor coaches and groups and all this different type of stuff to try to keep, they capitalize off people's interest to get into this field. So that's what I always look at. Diana and I are interested in it too. We're very, very busy with our residential real estate business, so we have not been able to devote the time it takes to get it off the ground. And I think you're kind of the opposite end of that. This is really more of your full-time focus. Is that correct?
Sure. And I have a real estate company like yours too, but ours is a lot more on the small scale and mostly to sell our own things. But that's full-time. What we do is buy houses, resell them, rent them out. It also goes into commercial properties as well. And that's our full-time business, is just real estate investing.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you got into this. Well, what's your story with property investing? Why aren't you, like a stockbroker or something?
Sure. Yeah, I had another business, and it was doing well, and we made a little bit of money and decided instead of go buy some fancy cars or anything like that, to spend a little bit and start buying some properties. It started off with a house that we flipped, and then from there bought some rental houses, and it's kind of just quickly accelerated from that.
So you had the capital. You sold a business which gave you the capital, because that's a big burning question for people. It's like, where do I get the money?
Sure. Yeah, my first deal. No, I actually didn't have any capital on my first deal. A business partner of mine loaned me the money to buy the first property we ever did. And so, eventually, started using some of my own cash and capital. But at first, it's more about finding a deal and putting in the work than it is, the money kind of finds the deal.
That's a really good point. So you're basically, once you find the deal, that gives you the leverage to find the cash.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the biggest thing is, real estate, it is at times very illiquid, but sometimes like the kind of market cycle that we're in now, there's a lot of capital that are chasing deals. And so it's very easy to get something financed or funded if it's truly a good deal.
Well, if we've got some people listening out there that, let's say they've got, through a friend, they've got a lead on a great deal, and they don't know what to do next. Where do they go to? How do they find that person with money? What would you suggest?
Sure. Well, I think first I would want to be in control of that property. That's the biggest thing in real estate is being in control of the deal. Whether you have any money into it or not, is having that either under contract to purchase or some kind of option to purchase, or make sure that nobody else is involved while you look for the money. But once you have a deal, then that's kind of when you pound the pavement to find it. Obviously, it'd be ideal to know that you had the capital or access to the capital before you started going around making offers on things. But at the same time, that could be maybe your parents or your friends or, a business associate or something like that, has the capital. Maybe you have some conversations with them, say, hey, if I find a great deal, are you in with me? Have enough of those conversations and somebody's going to say yes to that.
Is there a basic description in your mind for what makes an ideal deal?
Well, that really depends. We buy and sell a ton of properties, and the ones we sell, I still feel like are deals. But I'm not buying them myself, and it's because they don't necessarily fit my profile of what I'm looking for. And so that's really something that you have to decide for yourself is what do you want to do? Do you want to deal with low-end Section 8 rentals that are huge cash cows? Do you want to deal with higher-end properties in, Spring Hill or Fairhope or other areas where you'll never have an issue getting tenants, but maybe the returns aren't as high? Do you want to deal with commercial properties, or do you want to invest in land? You kind of have to decide, for yourself what property type and what class you're looking for, and then that determines what's a good deal.
Mm-hmm. What is your definition of something you just can't pass up on?
And if I can buy something for 50 cents on the dollar, that's pretty hard to walk away from. So.
And don't you have to have that, that gumption to sometimes make people those kind of offers?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, sometimes you got to offer a whole lot less than that just to get the ball moving. But yeah, it definitely feels like you're taking a risk by offering someone 50 cents on the dollar and look them in the eye and make that offer. It's definitely challenging sometimes, but at the same time, there's a reason why that property, is 50 cents on the dollar. It's because it's not one that, your agents can just, move right in and sell in 2 days on the MLS. These are properties that need quite a bit of work, have a lot of hair on them, so to speak.
Yeah, so if I had the liquid cash, I would want to seek, a Jared Irby out because you've got that intestinal fortitude to look somebody in the eye and get me the best deal for my money. So people are out there and they're, insecure and shy and afraid to, ask for the deal, then maybe this isn't the right field for them, so to speak.
Yeah, no doubt. And so we sell deals to a lot of people. There's several guys that buy deals from us that what they do is they come in and actually fix up the house, make it beautiful, resell it, and then they're just trying to deploy a lot of capital. So they don't have time to do what we're doing because, we might have to go make 20 or 30 offers or maybe even more than that to get one deal. So what we're doing is also a business as well, and so you kind of have to look at it that way that it's not just going to happen. Maybe you can go make one offer and be successful, but, at the end of the day, it's kind of hitting that consistently day in, day out, over and over and over again, hundreds of times.
I guess that's why you guys have that gong in your office, because if you got to make 20 or 30 offers to get one deal, that's something to really get excited about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so I have some experience in running sales teams and things like that. And, I think you guys probably do something similar, I'm sure. You got to give some people a reward because, it's a lot of, you get a lot of no's and you get a lot of rejection. And so you got to celebrate your victories.
Yeah, I want to hear about this gong, Jared.
Okay, so the gong is, it's just something you would see in like a Thai restaurant or a Japanese steakhouse or something like that. And we bang it really hard every time someone closes a deal down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's exciting. It makes the whole building shake.
Wholesale versus flip. I know you've got some strong feelings about this. And, I think Diana, she's more into like the flip and going in and making something beautiful and, investing, using that design, the interior design kind of aspect, that flair. But you're all about the quick turnaround, right?
Sure. And, so I would consider the flip that you're talking about more of a rehab. And so my definition of a rehab is going in and fixing everything that's wrong with it, updating the property, new countertops, new paint, carpet, whatever it needs to get it to be 100% updated and basically brand new, move-in ready, beautiful pictures on the MLS. And that's kind of what you see on TV. while we do that occasionally, probably 10 times a year, our bigger business is actually buying something and then selling it to another investor who wants to do that process. Or sometimes the houses just don't need a lot of work and are kind of ideally suited for like a first-time home buyer or something to that effect. And so we just go in, clean them up a little bit, and put them right back on the market.
So it's interesting that the emails that you guys send out, and we probably need to mention how somebody who's listening can get on that email distribution list. But you guys have a rough, I'm sure it's a rough estimate on the rehab cost.
Sure. So when we go in to make an offer on something, we kind of evaluate it and look at it and make a best guess on what we think it's going to cost rehab wise. And so we send out an email, when we have a deal like that to our investor list. And if you'd like to be on it, you can email me. It's Jared, Jared, at Irby LLC.com. And once you email us and get on that list, we blast out those deals. Sometimes it's once a week. Sometimes it's 10 times a week. Sometimes it's once a month. It really just depends on, when a deal happens. But we try to break it down as best we can to show you what the numbers potentially are on, return on investment type numbers.
And is there any way to estimate how accurate the number is that you come up with, or is it usually plus or minus maybe $5 or $10,000? Or
I mean, look, sometimes we definitely get it wrong, but then there's been plenty of times where can come out a lot better as well. And it really just depends on the level that you want to do. There's some investors in town who, they go in and they just make the house absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And you can do those investments and do well on them because ideally you'll get a lot more out of the resale and maybe you sell it a lot quicker. We kind of base it on just a general baseline of what we would do if we were going to go in and flip it. But you could obviously spend a ton of money more, or you could just do a little bit of lipstick and rent it out. So it's really kind of up to you. But yeah, we only send out deals that we feel are really strong and have a lot of potential to make someone some money.
Nobody else in our area is doing that. And so, we like to do that on the residential side, obviously, do things, marketing innovations, things that other people aren't doing. And, that was one of the reasons why you were, high on our list to get in here, because nobody else is doing that. And I think it's a valuable service, and I'm sure you get a lot of response from those emails. Maybe they turn into other sources of business or, other long-term clients.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a cool business. And yeah, I'm not really aware of anybody that's doing it on any type of scale that we are. And, sometimes there's deals that don't even get onto the list that some of our primary investors just scoop up, before anybody else sees them. So it kind of pays to be quick and really watch that. But also, like I was telling you earlier, every investor has their own kind of profile that they're looking for. I may not want a Section 8 rental, but you may want a Section 8 rental. We're talking huge, 25, 30% cash on cash returns. That's great and everything. And I have a few of those in my portfolio, but we're trying to do some things that are less management intensive. But if I was getting started, that would definitely be a property type that I would pursue at first when maybe I had a little more time to invest in the project. So that's why we send those out, because, not every property that we contract and buy works for us, for our long-term model. We're starting to focus more on bigger projects and things like that, but we still have all these deals coming to us. So we kind of try to match the right deal with the right buyer.
Yeah, Diane and I actually have a friend who is very successful with Section 8. So we're going to definitely try to get him in here. It's probably going to be like pulling teeth. But Diana, did you have any other questions for Jared?
I just wanted to know, maybe you could share like the hardest lesson that you've learned through property investment.
Oh, wow. It's the due diligence for sure. Something can look like a deal, smell like a deal. You always hear the saying, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck, right? Well, that's not 100% true when you get into real estate. It really is all about doing the due diligence, doing your research, making sure that what you see is accurate. And that a lot of that has to do with, comps or the rental comps, but also on the amount of work that the project needs. And so, we've been burned plenty of times and have had huge losses on properties. But then at the same time, you make it up with the huge home runs as well. But if I had to do anything differently, it would definitely be a lot more due diligence. Because frankly, once you do find something, you probably can negotiate a little bit better deal from it, and that still works for everyone.
Right.
But you're able to price that into the deal.
I mean, that's the learning process that most people need to understand if they have any entrepreneurial aspirations, is that, you're going to take some serious losses and not everything's going to be a home run, and some of it's going to be very, very painful. But the mindset needs to be not to commiserate on the failure, but what can I learn from this? What can this teach me moving forward so that I can become a better investor or a better real estate agent? And that's the mindset I think people lose sight of.
Sure. And, you go to some of these seminars like you were talking about earlier, they have good numbers. Everything they say is right, at the end of the day, for the most part on how to evaluate a deal and return on investments and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's really about jumping in and doing it. We've seen people that have spent $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on coaching programs and things like that. And I'm like, man, you could have bought a $30,000, $40,000 house from me, and you're not going to lose money on that. Make $700 a month. Theirs is completely gone. So, like I told you, it's a business, and I think in business you have to take some risks. You do what you can to mitigate your downside, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's about taking some risks. So I think everybody should just jump right in. I mean, that's kind of how I got started, and actually the first deal I didn't make any money on. Fortunately, I only lost a couple $100 or a couple thousand maybe at the end of the day.
Right.
But not every deal makes money. But, it's once you really get into it and learn what you're doing, you have the potential to make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That I didn't mention that, but that's the rental estimate is also something, or projection is something you guys also evaluate too.
Sure. If we think it would be a good rental property, and some are much better rental properties than flips, we'll try to put our best guess on what a rental estimate would be too. We can also refer some people over to property management companies and things like that could give them a really good idea of what to rent from. But we have a pretty large rental portfolio, so we kind of have a good thumb on what the market is, especially in Mobile.
Well, I was going to ask Diana because she was looking really hard at a duplex investment, and kind of what you learned from your research on that versus how does that make sense financially based on the return on investment? How all the numbers aspect of this work out?
Well, I love numbers. So for me personally, it's whether I can, it's assessing the risk. I know that you're not always going to make money, but am I okay if I lose this money? Sure.
And that's why rental properties are great. You make up anything in the long run. And the flips they can be quite dangerous. Not to say you shouldn't do them. I've done a lot successfully. I know hundreds of people who have done them successfully. But they definitely carry more downside risk. In the long run, you're going to make money on a rental house. It may not be the return you were looking for, but you're not going to lose money. If you're properly insured and you buy it in a good location, you're never going to lose money because you should be getting some kind of return on investment every month.
Right.
So that's not to say you shouldn't do any due diligence, but at the same time, it's hard to lose on that. I don't go into business to lose. I mean, we go in to win.
That's right.
And you kind of have to look at, hey, how am I going to win? And you want to make sure you have as many options to win as possible. At the same time, you're kind of mitigating your downside.
Right. That's a good point.
I'm a little bit more of a risk taker.
Yeah, he is.
And look, I'm a risk taker too. And in real estate, you got to be a little more careful because, we take a risk on a marketing campaign that maybe one of your agents is doing. That's not a very big financial risk, but potentially risking hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house, it's something not to tread into lightly. And there's been a couple times where I've jumped right in and paid the price. But at the same time, if you can stay alive and make your wins count, that's what really matters.
Where do you see this, taking you long term? What's the 10-year plan for you in terms of being a property investor? I know you said the projects just keep getting bigger.
Sure. Yeah. So, what we're doing as far as wholesaling properties, investing in single family houses, that's great. We're going to keep continuing doing that. We're having great growth on that. And I foresee a lot of growth in the future. Plan to add other markets, not just Mobile and Baldwin County, but maybe other markets throughout the Southeast. And then at the same time, we've started doing a lot lot more commercial deals and apartments and things like that, and doing some development work and really kind of branching out into some of the, trying to get into the bigger leagues at some point.
Yeah, making the bigger contacts. That's just, there's always a bigger vision. You said jump right in, but you jump right in, and then that first deal is going to open your mind up to the possibilities of the next deal and what to look for, what to, kind of try to be aware of. And then it just there's just this evolution there. So now that you're looking at like big commercial projects and apartments, to me, that's really, really exciting. I mean, just take Diana as an example, just on the real estate side, starting out as a husband and wife team to going now to owning multiple brokerages. I mean, who would have thought that in the beginning? So I came to her one day and said, hey, I'm going to invest in this website that costs more than our mortgage payment. And she thought I was just completely nuts.
Yeah, no, and that's why you're successful, and that's why other people should just kind of jump right in. Taking risk. You hung out your shingle, and now I don't know how many offices are you up to now. Quite a few in very rapid time.
More than Diana would like. I'll just
yeah, for sure.
That's
I know
she makes me manage it all.
Yeah, she keeps a tight grip on the wallet, but it's a great team. You guys rock and roll and keep growing for sure.
I don't know if Diana's question really kind of hammered this home, but what would the seasoned investor tell the new Jared, or the newly starting out investor Jared?
I would take just as many risks, but at the same time, I would make sure to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. That would be the biggest thing. And really that goes into due diligence, making sure my contracts are a little more up to par, and also negotiating a lot harder. I'm looking back at deals I did and realized, man, I could have got that for $50,000 less, and so that's probably what I would do is I would have tried to develop maybe some more of the actual business skills before jumping in. But at the same time, it's kind of like a trial by fire. And so I don't know that if I went back and changed something, I'm not sure that I'd be where I am today.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Mm-hmm. Really good point. Did you use a real estate agent when you started out? Because you didn't have your real estate license, right from the get-go.
I did, but actually my first deal that I did, I had bought a house on my own through a real estate agent, but the first investment property I did was actually with my mom's preacher's wife. She inherited a house, and it kind of just came to me. I don't even remember the exact circumstance, but I just think I told my parents I was looking for an investment house, and they said, well, I know somebody, and linked us up, and that's how I bought my first one. Was never through an agent. Ultimately, I did buy them through agents, and I used agents to list the properties for sale. I highly recommend that, and in fact, am an agent now, and also have agents that work for us to list them. I think that's important. But at the beginning, it's kind of finding deals that maybe a lot of other people haven't seen yet is what's really important about it.
Yeah, so like probate deals, things like that?
Yeah, anytime someone inherits something, there's usually some issues. Maybe there's title issues. Maybe there's kind of some negativity associated with the property. If you inherit a house, maybe you're not really connected to that house like you are your own home. So kind of maybe want to get rid of it, or it probably has a lot of deferred maintenance. So there's usually a lot of potential with something that's inherited to make a very good win-win situation for everyone.
So if you just think about where this can start and then where it can lead you, but if you just started out talking to the people that were in the contact list in your phone and just asking them, do they know of anybody who has a property they can't get rid of, that they want to get rid of, or they need quick cash, they're in a financial bind and they need to sell something quickly, or that, maybe they're going to be in an inheritance situation. That's just how easily you could, I could say that it's a simple, strategy, but it's not necessarily easy to go through your contact list and start calling people. But that's really just,
Sure. I guess, is that kind of your game plan with new agents even, is just, your sphere of influence? It's kind of a cheesy saying. It's really true in every kind of sales business, and this is sales. You're finding a deal, but in my mind, it's still kind of a sales thing. And so, yeah, you pick up the phone and you tell enough people you're a real estate investor and looking for a deal, and tell them what you're looking for, you'll find it. I guarantee you. In fact, one of my buddies, his first deal, he's a very successful investor now. was he told, his hairdresser asked him what he did, and he said, I buy houses for cash. And that was his first deal, was from his salon person.
And he'd never bought one for cash before?
Never. So, and,
I love it. All right, so I see on the side of your truck, you have there, displayed there in writing that you're the real estate problem solver. What exactly do you mean by that?
We kind of talked about real estate being a little bit illiquid, and that's kind of how you can find deals because, you can have a share of Coca-Cola and nobody is going to pay less than what the New York Stock Exchange says that share is worth because there's no reason to. A piece of real estate's a little bit different. There's a limited subset of people that know about it and can buy it at one time. So what we see is situations where somebody has a property that's not very marketable. Maybe it has a bad tenant in it, or they inherited it and it needs a lot of work. Could be getting foreclosed on. We've dealt with hoarder houses, just the most disgusting things you'd ever see. Who would buy that except for me or another real estate investor?
Right.
And so we look at those as problems that people are having, and we can come in and solve those problems by buying the property from them.
Yeah, I've seen some of yours like fire damage, like badly burned. And
oh yeah, the situations we've seen are crazy. I mean, we've bought houses that are half burned down. We've bought houses, like I said, that were pulled out 10 construction dumpsters full of junk out of them. That much,
Wow.
that disgusting. Ones that have had to be exterminated 15 times. Just insane.
For the roaches?
Oh, roaches. We had one that the ASPCA, before we bought the house, pulled out, I think, like 50 or 60 cats and 10 dogs and a bunch of birds out of a 4-bedroom house, 1,800 square foot house. So that should tell you how bad that house was.
That's wild.
And so we do buy some things. There's been situations where maybe the taxes haven't been paid in several years, and you're about to lose that property at a tax auction or to a tax deed. But we can come in and, have it closed within 24, 48 hours in some cases. So, sometimes we are that last resort for people. At the same time, a lot of the people we work with don't necessarily need the money. It's more of a headache and a hassle thing. That's really the biggest issue that people have is not having the time. We deal with a lot of people from out of state who might have owned a property in Mobile, moved away, or they inherited a property in Baldwin County or something to that effect. And if you live in California, what are you supposed to do? You could, and property needs a lot of work, so you call an investor to purchase that because, you don't have the time to put that, the time or the energy. You're not going to fly from California here to lay new tile and put, fix air conditioning and stuff like that. So you just need to sell the property and move on and then take and invest that money in your local market somewhere. And so a lot of the people we work with don't really need the money. At the same time, some of them do.
You're very quiet on this one.
Well, you've been talking. I did have one question.
Sure.
I was waiting for it to chime in.
Just about title. Can you and do you buy properties that don't have clear title?
I guess it just depends. We do get people that call us that maybe have a tax deed or something like that sometimes. That's ones where you have to get a quiet title action and it takes a little bit of time. We do have some capacity to buy that. In all honesty, it's usually really, really cheap because it has a lot of effort put into it. The other title issues we encounter, we can usually help people fix a lot of times. Maybe they have some liens outstanding or things like that. We're the problem solvers. We go in and we'll negotiate and try to fix that. Maybe there's some sibling issues where a sibling needs to sign off on it. We can go in and help negotiate that and even arbitrate it from that standpoint to help get the deal done. So we have a lot of experience solving title issues, and that's kind of one of our services so we can make deals happen.
That's neat.
All right, Jared. So if people want to get in touch with you, figure out how to find, locate, what to invest in, hire you to help them become a property investor, how do they get in touch with you?
If you're an investor or want to get started investing, definitely give me a call. Our number is 251-202-2222. Easiest phone number ever. And if you want to sell us your house, you're absolutely welcome. Maybe you have something that needs to be sold quickly. Our phone number for that is 251-333-CASH. So it's another easy number to remember. But we're happy to help with anybody who wants to buy a property that's a possible investment property, or also if anybody needs to sell one that maybe needs a lot of work and has a lot of hair on it. We'd love to help with that. We also have a local real estate investor club. It's called Gulf Coast Real Estate Investors. We usually meet about once a month, and if you shoot me an email, I'd be happy to get you some more information and get on our list so you can make sure to come to our next meetup.
Can you mention that email address one more time for us?
Sure, and my email address is Jared, Jared, at Irby, Irby LLC.com.
Awesome.
All right, Jared. Well, thanks so much for your time today, and we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Jared.
Sure.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Agent 251 podcast. I'm Jason Will.
And I'm Diana Will.
Thank y'all so much, and have a great week.
Well, that wraps up another Agent 251 podcast. Thanks so much for listening. You can find our show on iTunes, any place you get your podcast fix. We really appreciate the listening, and please share it with your friends. This show has been paid for and powered by JWRE, Jason Will Real Estate. You can find Jason, Diana, and the whole JWRE team on the internet and Facebook. And everybody, have a great and productive and happy week.